Here we are. There's another episode of the Uncivilized Art podcast. And my guest, wow, man like Zeo. Listen, yeah, for anybody who don't know who you is, tell them a little something about yourself.
Really rubbish at talking about myself, but yeah, okay. Zeo been rapping and producing for quite a lot of years now, and yeah, just a music artist basically. Yeah, what else can I say? See what I mean? See how dead that was.
Yeah, you're definitely underselling it. You're definitely underselling it. I mean, I've known about you, I think, probably a little over a year now, I think.
Okay.
Maybe coming up to 2 years. But I remember because I used to do quite a few reactions and music reactions on my vlog channel, and yours is one that got recommended to me. So before that, never heard of you at all. But then it's come to me. I'm like, all right, let me check this out. I see the name Wolverine, and I'm already thinking, Wolverine, X-Men, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And they making a reference. I'm like, yo, this is sick. This is sick. And then of course Wolverine 2, Wolverine 3, and just a whole bunch of other stuff as well. But so how did it all start for you? Like, with music, like what was that point where you're like, you know what, I want to be a grime artist, I want to be a hip hop rapper? Actually, do you say grime? Do you say UK rap? How do you describe it, actually? Maybe
I,
just
I
start there.
flip flopping between the two, depending on how much Grime's pissing me off. Am I allowed to say pissing me off?
You could say
Yeah.
whatever you want,
Okay.
dude. It's all good.
Yeah, depending on how much grime's pissing me off, then I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a rap and grime artist. And if I'm liking grime, I'm a grime and rap artist. Like, because whatever people hear first is the only one they go for. So right now, I would say I'm a grime artist, yeah. But let's see what I am next year. But I feel like you've asked me two questions there.
Yeah. So
How
I
did I
kind of
decide I wanted to be an artist, and how did it start? That's two different answers. So which one do you want?
Okay. So let's go with let's start with how did you decide? No, sorry. Let's start with how did it start for you? Let's go there. So
Okay.
what was the beginning genesis like for you?
So trying to remember, my friends used to rap, and this was in school in sixth form. So I think I was about 17 maybe, and they were rapping, and I was a massive fan of Sisqo, like
Oh
massive fan of Sisqo, and I used to think, oh, if I sing really quietly, I can sound like Sisqo a bit like. So they used to do songs, and then I used to try and jump on the choruses, and I've still got the flipping recordings. If you want it, I can give you that. If you can pull it into the video somehow, I still got the recording of me singing on this chorus, and that's the first thing I did, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually quite fun. Like, you can make a song like because before that, you think making a song some big thing, but then I was just like, oh my god, you can actually make songs in this room in the music room, sick."
Mm,
And then one day they were putting on some beats and they were all rapping, and I thought I'm gonna try rapping, and every time I tried to do it, I was stuttering, and I was like, couldn't get my words out, and that made me like really, really angry because I was just thinking, why can they do it and I can't do it? So I remember going home thinking, okay, I'm gonna try and at least be able to say a verse without stuttering, and then that's what kind of got me into writing lyrics because from there I just kept writing. So that's what got me into music in the first place.
okay, so Cisco, would you say was that your
Cisco.
biggest inspiration or biggest influence? Maybe is a better word to use.
Cisco was my biggest influence to try and make a song in the first place, and then to actually start writing lyrics would have been like Graveyard and yeah, Graveyard Crew from Birmingham,
That's
Grime Crew.
crazy though, because like your music and Cisco's music are worlds apart. you know,
Are
and
they though? Think of the things I like to do in videos, and think of the things that Cisco's into. He's madly into Japanese culture, dragons,
oh
blah blah blah.
yeah,
Do
yes, yeah.
you get what I'm saying? I'm madly into that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So it actually makes sense. Obviously, the music ain't going to sound the same because he's
Yeah.
singing and he's a good singer, and I'm not a singer. So, but if you look at the imagery and stuff, it kind of links.
Yeah. No, I see it now. I definitely see it now. But it's like one of these things. Though I feel like when you're creative, when you're an artist, you get so many different like influences and inspirations from like wildly, madly different places,
Yeah,
and or they all kind of somehow end up in some way in your work. But for an outsider looking at it, like we say to me, like you're inspired by Sisqo. I'm thinking of like your music. I think Sisqo's music, and they're both good, right? But then I'm thinking that they're so different. But of course, it's like you're looking at actually no, they're not, because there are these influences like the Japanese references and the music, the dragons, and but yeah, it's kind of crazy that when you how inspiration works that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like how
yeah.
you could take something and it just becomes its own thing. You
Yeah.
know.
I wanted to dye my hair silver as well, but my mom wouldn't let me.
But I mean, there's still time. Still
Yeah,
time.
it's true, isn't it?
Okay, so how did that go? Oh, you mentioned that you had some people who were rapping and they started writing lyrics, and then kind of push yourself to keep doing that.
Yeah.
So how did that transition into grime and then
Right.
putting your music out into the world?
So, I've got so many stories, man. So, after being able to spit verses without stuttering, people were like, "Oh, we go to the youth club and we do it here." And the DJs and blah blah blah. So I went to youth club, and I remember being scared, thinking, "Oh, all these people sound good. Do I take the microphone? Do I take?" And I remember taking the microphone, rapping my lyrics. Now I was rubbish. I was definitely rubbish. I admit that. But at the time, you don't think you're rubbish. So I remember taking the microphone, spitting my lyrics, kind of looking around and seeing people laughing at me. And I was like thinking, "Yo, what's going on? Why are man laughing at me?" I remember going home feeling angry, thinking, "Yo, man, they're laughing at me. Blah blah blah. I need to write better lyrics." So I tried to do that, thinking I was getting better. I remember I was going to a few more grime sets at different places and thinking that I was getting better. And then I remember there was one grime set and everyone was spitting and everyone was getting hype. Every time someone spits, everyone was getting hype. And I still got this tape as well. And you can hear everyone getting hype and you can hear it in the background of the tape. And then as soon as I get the microphone, the whole room goes silent. And I listened to that and I remember being so mad. Thinking, "Yo, man, they're treating me like some dickhead, like I'm some whack rapper." And I must have been like it was justified. And then the bit that really pushed me to get good, I remember I saw this guy. His name's Kieran McIntosh. I don't know if I've ever told him. I remember I saw him and he came up to me and he says, "Yo, you were rapping on blah 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 tape, yeah?" And I goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good still. It was good still." And I thought, sick. And I remember going home feeling good about myself. Got to school the next day, sixth form, and someone goes, "Yo, Kieran McIntosh was in the barber shop the other day taking the piss out of you."
Usually it's the other way round, don't it?
Bro. And I was thinking, why did he come up to me and say that?
Man just gassed you up to your face.
Yeah. Bro, the anger I felt, that was a big stepping stone for me. Big. And I feel like loads of my lyrics are quite from an angry place. And I feel like that was one of the major, like that was the thing that made me angry the most. And I thought, yeah, I didn't write no lyrics about him because that's not what I'm about. But I remember just thinking, I'm writing angry lyrics. And then the angrier I got, the more better I got. And then eventually I just became really good at expressing my anger in my lyrics. Yeah. And then I still wasn't pulling, wouldn't say I was putting music out because it just used to be go to youth club, there was a tape, people used to copy the tape and blah, blah. So I still wasn't putting music out. That's another story again.
Right, we'll come to that in a bit then.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned about anger though. I feel like when it comes to creativity, perhaps you could elaborate on your feelings on this as well, is that there's certain emotions that really kind of push our creativity beyond what we might normally think. And I think anger is one of them. Anytime we have like these and it's usually more of a negative emotion. I mean, you can write. I feel like here's how I look at it. I mean, when you're writing, like your best work is written when you're in a good place, but it's often about times when you're in a negative place.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so you've been through the anger and now you're in a better place, you can start writing. Or how do you feel about it? Do you feel like you write from the anger, like while in that emotion, or are you writing once you've come out of that?
Oh, that is difficult. It might be when I come out, because I'm struggling to write now. And I know I'm writing the slap bang in the middle of stuff right now. And every time I go to write, I feel like I can't do it. And that's now like today. So maybe it's when I come out of it. But I haven't got a definite answer for you there. But yeah, you might be onto something. Might be that's why I'm struggling now because I need to get past it and then think. Remember how angry I was.
Yeah, like how that informs the writing. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's just kind of like, I, yeah, when you listen to a lot of different songs or listen to like artists and stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff, at least for me anyway, a lot of the stuff that I find like I resonate with and the stuff that I think is some of like my favorite songs out there, yeah, they're often coming from like these kind of negative emotions. And just for myself, I know when I've done some writing, it was like, being in that moment and trying to write and just feeling like you can maybe get some stuff out and maybe every now and then you get something that you're okay with, but it's hard to see it sometimes, and it's not until you come out of it that you can kind of take a step back and be like, okay, how was that? And then just let it flow from there.
yeah.
You know?
I do wonder though if some people are the complete opposite, and some people do everything from a happy place, like gospel artists and stuff, for example. Because
Yeah.
I hear gospel music makes me annoyed because I'm just like, this is too happy. I remember Pharrell's song "Happy" as well. That just it did the opposite for me, and I'm just like, happy music makes me just think, shut up, man. Like, you're not happy, you idiot. You're lying, and they're probably not lying, but it just annoys me. So I just wonder if some people are the opposite, and some people are just goth and darkness like me.
I think it is. And to be fair, I'm very much speculating because there's no way I can prove this or even begin to, any kind of evidence. But I do feel like a lot of happy songs, and not to name because I don't know Pharrell or anybody, but I feel like a lot of happy songs probably are a little bit disingenuous, or maybe more than a bit disingenuous.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
And I feel like there's things about art and music and how we're connected that sometimes we can feel things without not necessarily knowing what it exactly is. And I think that to me, that's why I feel it could be that it's just coming from a disingenuous place, like it's trying to create this happy image, which is great, and of course we should be happy, right?
yeah.
But it also feels like perhaps that's not what is really happening here, and perhaps there's something beneath that people trying to create an image of themselves that isn't. I mean, to be fair, I guess a lot of art and music, you create images of yourself that isn't exactly accurate anyway, just how it is. But it just feels a little bit maybe more than that, like there's a purpose to it, and
So
I can't prove that, but
as you're talking, it's making me think about it, and I don't know again because I'm trying to think if I've ever made a happy song. I'm gonna have to think harder, but it'll take me a while. But because I don't make them, I can't think properly and I can't know. But I always think a happy song. I have made a happy song. Yeah, I have. I wouldn't say happy though. I feel like happy songs are made for a reason, as in Pharrell's Happy was probably made to get into films and to get into kids programs and blah blah. Like I think of someone like Jay Huss who makes a lot of party songs and blah blah, and I feel like he's probably thinking, yeah, this is for the ladies and they're gonna dance to this and blah blah blah. Where I feel like sadder songs or more reflecting songs are because you felt something and you want to say something and you feel bad and blah blah. But I feel like happy songs, it's like you make them for other people. Because I don't think you sit there feeling happy and be like, yeah, man, I'm going to write how happy I am today to tell the world. I don't think that's a thing. But then I'm talking from me. So I would have you would have to speak to someone else. Next artist you have, try and find a happy one and see. Because I feel like they're writing for other people and it's not really what they feel. They probably don't want to write sad things, but I just don't think they're doing it as in, yeah, man, this is for me. I think it's, I'm making a party song for the ladies, or I'm making a song that hopefully gets picked for a kids program or whatever. Like that's what I think, but I don't know.
Radio play.
Yeah. Do you get what I mean?
I mean, I mean, that could be it. It could be it. Like I said, it was same. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, right? Maybe we're wrong. Yeah, maybe we change. Maybe someone's gonna watch this and be like, "Look at these depressed idiots talking rubbish. These dark people, man."
Don't rain on my parade. What the fuck you talking about?
you two need some counselling, man. What going for you two?
That's probably not too far from the truth. That's probably not too far from the truth. All right, so yeah, you started music. You moved more into grime. How did you start, or when did you start putting out music?
Releasing properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so tapes and CDs used to go around with me on like crazy, which was just grime sets, and it wasn't really songs. I started getting really good, like really good, to the point where like it was like, who's the best in Wolverhampton? If you said 3 people, I was guaranteed in it, but most people would say I was number 1. And I was going to other places like Birmingham and stuff, and people knew who I was, and it was just like mind blowing to me because I was thinking I'm just a guy that spits in youth clubs. Then with that came older people in Wolverhampton being like, who's this younger person, 17? We're older. Why is everyone talking about him? He's not even that good. Duh, duh, duh. So when there was a set and there was older and younger people, you try and stop us getting involved. But I used to think no one could touch me. I've never, at this stage, I've had fights, but I've never been punched in my face by an older man. So I'm thinking no one could touch me. Blah blah. Yo, give me this mic, blood. I used to say things to them as if like, I will fight you. That's that in my head. I just didn't care. So it got to a stage where I had problems with older people, and we used to diss each other on the mic. And I used to say things like, "I'll run in your mom's house," and blah blah, not caring. Now they're thinking, when I see you, you're dead, and I'm thinking it's just lyrics, and I don't care. And if you fight me, I'll fight you back. Blah blah. Got to a stage where I clashed an older person, and this is on YouTube as well. I don't know if you'll be able to put a link in. This clash is on YouTube, and he thought he was going to win, but anyone who watches it, he got absolutely destroyed and embarrassed. He was way older than me. He was bigger than me. He couldn't take it. He saw me at a later date, and him and his friends like punched me up on the street, and the people that I was with didn't do anything, and I had to go hospital and blah, 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 blah. And it was a bit peak. Now, at this stage, I became paranoid and depressed, because someone hit me that I didn't know I thought it was someone walking past, and he hit me as he went past, and it was just all madness. So I thought everyone was going to hit me. So I never wanted to come out of my house, because every time I went somewhere, I thought someone's going to hit me. Anyone who looked at me, I thought he was going to hit me. I remember my grandma was crying, saying, "Oh, you can't do this no more," because they were turning up at my house and trying to get into my house and blah, blah. And my mom was like, "This is blah." And she had not a breakdown, but I remember she was crying and and it was just all horrible. And I had a bunk bed, which never had a bed at the bottom. It was one at the top. I remember putting sheets around it, and I just sat under there every day, just depressed, writing little lyrics, blah, blah. Then before I knew it, my lyrics were changing and becoming about things like this. It wasn't just like, I'm a bad man MC, no more. It was like stuff like, "Oh, this has happened to me," and And then my friend was coming to my house, and he was like, "We should record them." So I was like, "Okay, let's record them." And then I was getting beats off people instead of just spitting. I was getting beats, and I was like recording how I felt about things, saying more things that really meant something, like, and talking about how I got beat up and blah blah blah, and how my friends didn't help me, and fake friends, and all these tunes are online because they came out. And I remember I got to 21 songs, and I was like, "Oh my god, this feels like a story from when I started spitting to now." And this is explaining to people why they can't see me no more. I was at youth club like 5 days a week, different ones across the city, and I never went to any. And people were thinking, "Where's he gone?" And I feel like this explained everything. Burned off loads of CDs, went to all the carnivals, handed them out. And that was the first time that it was like I released songs, but it was like kind of passing them out on CDs. And when I saw that reaction, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do instead of trying to be a bad man MC.
Okay. Now that's awesome. It just takes a bad situation and turn it into something.
So basically, in short, I had to get beat up.
Well, as the old saying goes, everybody takes a beating sometimes. So
especially when you run your mouth. I used to run my mouth.
You stay down or you get back up. But is it like that in Wolverhampton then, in terms of like, say like violence and stuff like that? Or I mean, there's violence everywhere, I know, but in terms of like, is it like rampant, or is it where you really have to watch who you talk to, who you look at?
I think it is. I don't know about now. I've heard it is now still, but when we was younger, it definitely was like that. Like I lived in the area, and just because I lived in that area, there was areas I couldn't go to. Like I literally just couldn't go there, and if I did go there, it was problems, because I used to think I'll go where I want, and then I learned you can't go to these areas. And an interesting story to show how bad it can be in Wolverhampton. I've got half brothers and sisters, and I've got one older brother. I'm the second oldest out of all of us. There's like 12 of us, half brothers and sisters. And I've got an older brother, and my younger brother must have got in contact with him and found him. And I didn't know who he was, but we both lived in Wolves. And my brother was talking to him on the phone, and he was saying stuff. and they were talking about things, and then my brother goes, "Do you know Zeo?" And my older brother says, no word of a lie, he goes, "Yeah, I know him. He's a pussy. Oh, if I see him, blah 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 blah." And my brother's like, "That's our brother."
Yeah.
Now the reason he said this is because he lived in an area that I'm not allowed in. That is just like, he's from that area. He's from that area. He didn't know who I was. It was just, he knew he's from that area and he raps. And I've got people who rap in this area and we don't get along. He didn't rap. My brother didn't rap, but I'm a pussy hole and he wants to beat me up. That's how bad rules can be. Now he knows that, since he found out I'm his brother, like, it was from there, we're completely fine because we didn't know each other, but now we're fine. But he, as a stranger, without him knowing me, he could have beat up his, or I don't know if he would have beat me up. Maybe I'll batter him. I don't know. He could have had a fight with his own brother. That's how wolves can be.
Man, that's crazy.
It's funny now.
That's because I'm guessing you'd have been. I mean, you said what, 17, 18?
17, 18, yeah.
Okay, so you're like adult years, and you got this brother that lives in the same city as you.
Yeah,
and
didn't know him.
Doesn't know you are outside of, just from your music and the same reputation, but doesn't know that you're actually related.
And would have probably fought me if we came in contact with each other.
Do you have sisters?
Yeah. You want to hear a story about that?
you know they're your sisters, yeah, by the way. Right?
Bro, you want to hear? Let me tell you this one quickly.
All right.
I was in year 8. I was in year 8, and my dad rang me up, and he goes, "Yo, what school do you go to?" And I told him what school I went to, and he went, "Yeah, your sister goes there." She was 1 year below me, bro.
Well, good for you got a warning.
Bro, I was already in, like, it wasn't early. It wasn't an early warning.
Oh,
I remember it wasn't an early warning.
Before...
No, I'd never met her.
Oh, okay,
cool. I went round the school asking everyone, what is your dad's name? This is your dad. I never bumped into her, but it wasn't an early warning. Like, I wasn't into girls and stuff in year 8 anyway. But imagine if I was one of them guys, bro.
Yeah, but that's close. Actually, what is year 8? Because it was different when I was in school. Year 8
is 12?
That
13?
12 years old?
Are you 13? I think you might be 12, but I was one of the oldest, so I was probably 13.
Okay. So it's secondary school. That's
secondary school, yeah. Second year of secondary school.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, that's I'm showing my age, because back then we just called it it was like first year, second year, third, and so on.
Oh, no way! I didn't think you was that old.
Yeah, I'm that old. Back when it's now it's like what?
What is it called? O levels for you?
No, I'm not that old.
Okay.
It was still GCSEs. I'm not.
Okay.
But I think, to be fair though, I think it was O levels. What did O levels stop at? Probably about 90 something, 80s or 90s. So
I don't know.
It might have been like not far off, actually, to be fair. But yeah, not quite that old. But
you don't look that old, so you're all right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's mostly just like not getting into fights. Actually, that's a lie. I got into beer fights when I was in school. Actually, like, I remember, like, there's this one kid who I'll get into fights with pretty much on a regular basis. Like, it was like I was here that time of the month again. You know what I mean? Like, it was like that.
Yeah.
And we'd fight over the dumbest things. You know, like, looking back at it now, it's like stupidest things, like he picks up my sharpener or something like that, or he went in front of me. Actually, that's a good one. Like, he went in front of me at dinner line. I mean, that's fair. But yeah, we'd fight the dumbest things, but pretty much every single time, we'd be friends the next day.
Yeah.
It was like that. We'd get into a fight and we'd be friends the next day. But they're never like bad broken nose type fights, but yeah, we get punching each other up, and I'll say I won, he say he won, that sort of thing. But we're friends the next day until whenever, and we fight again. Yeah,
I used to fight all the time after year 8 because I got bullied in year 7/year 8, and then I had to move school because I got bullied because there wasn't many black people at the school, so I used to get bullied every day, like people spitting in my face, things like that. And before that, I wasn't really into fighting. I had fights, but I wasn't really into it. I just wasn't on it. And because I left that school, because my mum went in and they didn't do nothing about it, I left. When I went to the new school, I thought, anyone says one word, it's a fight. So that's why I used to fight all the time, because it'd be like, oh, this person did this, and you'd be like, you fought over that. I'd be like, yeah, because I'm just on it now because I'm not making people think no one's bullying me again. So
Yeah.
that's why. And then as I got older, like it took me till like flipping 27 or something to decide I'm not fighting no more. Like I went through from year 9 to 27, just thinking anyone says anything, I'm fighting you.
Do you? Okay, it's a little bit off topic, but supposed to be on talk about fighting now.
Fine,
Do
it's
you
fine.
remember your last fight, your last ever proper fist fight? Not
I remember.
including family members, because that's a whole other thing.
What was my last one? What was my last one? Maybe. No, I don't. I don't know. I've had bear though. I've had ones where someone's hit me and I thought I've gone deaf, and I'm fighting him and I can't hear nothing. I could just hear, and I'm fighting and I'm like
Start ringing.
not giving up. Yeah, and then I remember we stopped because I thought you've made me go deaf. He stopped and he went to. I remember he said to me, "Should we just stop fighting?" Because there's no one to stop it. So it's like, and I was like, "All right, cool." Thinking I can't really hear nothing. And then the next day his hand was in the cast. So he broke his hand on my head, and that's why he wanted to stop. And I thought, you bastard, you bastard, yo, you couldn't fight no more. You were done. You were done.
Yeah.
That's one of the last ones I remember. Well, that was ages ago. I've had more since then. Mostly though, because I started training and everything and became good at fighting. People just got scared, and my fights became like I've hit someone and they've kind of crumbled and they've not been on it. That's what's happened since in the later years of my life. Chasing people. Like I remember someone punched my car. He must have been drunk. He was driving slowly down the road. He stood in front of the car, punched it. I remember he was walking off thinking, yeah, man. And I got out of the car and I went, yo. And he looked at me and he ran off and I chased him for about 10 minutes, bro. But I'm not exaggerating. It was about a 10-minute chase. Eventually, he looked back and he thought, this is not going to end. And he fell on the floor and I boxed him up. Came back to my car and there was a queue of cars so long down the road because I just left it in the middle of the road. Yeah, just left it in the middle of the road. I didn't care. I used to just think, yo, no one's doing nothing. No one is doing nothing. And now, literally, so many things have happened to me in my 30s. And I just think you should have punched him up. But I just be like, no, just forget it. Just forget it.
Yeah, and I think as we mature, we definitely have different attitudes towards things like fighting and
It's not worth it anymore.
stuff like that. And yeah, exactly. It's just I feel like these days
You get stabbed.
Yeah, exactly. You could get stabbed, you get shot, who knows? And
Yeah.
with the exception of things like boxing or sports or things like that, martial arts and that sort of thing. I feel like when it comes to street fights, the only fights you really win are the ones you avoid.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
other
it's
than
true.
that, it's
What I
like even
say,
if you're
that
the
was
guy on top,
Yeah,
the
you ain't
fact
won.
that it's got to that point,
You haven't won.
it's just
You've
it's just
both
so not
lost.
worth it.
You
Yeah.
both lost. Yeah, you're right. And these days, like I said, you just end up getting stabbed. Back in the day, I knew you could fight. It was rare someone got stabbed. It was very rare, and you could just have a fight. And literally, the worst that would happen is when you see them again, you have to fight again. It was nothing more than that, really. And then when stabbing came into it, it's just like it's horrible. People are not even ashamed. Back in the day, so you fought him and then you stabbed him. You're pussy old. You get what I mean? Now it's like I ain't fighting blood. You think I'm gonna fight blood? I'll stab him, and that's cool now. And I'm like, so you're not even ashamed that you're scared to fight him? Nah, blood, I'll stab him. That's dead. Like so, it's like you can't fight anyone now because you never know what's gonna come from it. Just if you want to fight, train and spar with people and stuff like that in properly because you can't fight no one now.
Yeah, just like,
and it's not good anyway. It's not good anyway. Fighting's not good.
It's not.
Well, it is fun, but it's not good.
You feel good in a moment. You feel good in a moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like the last fight I had, or at least the last fight I can remember having, I think I was maybe about 18 or so.
Whoa.
18 or 19.
Time ago.
It was a long time ago. That's not the last time I threw a punch.
Okay.
But it's the last like fight. And at least again, last one. I don't think I've had any proper fights after that. Well, again, family members, but that doesn't count. But yeah, I don't remember a lot of how it started. I remember it was a friend of mine, someone who was like a good close friend of mine at the time. We were like best friends. But for a while, he was just pissing me off, and I was trying to avoid him, trying to not talk to him, that kind of stuff. And then it kind of escalated to a point where I think he just like tapped me on the leg or something like that as you walking by. It was something so small, something so insignificant. But at in that moment, I just flew off the handle, got up, started punching this guy, and were just like wailing, and it was ridiculous. And then I saw him again like years later, like at least 10 years later, and I said to him, "Sorry," you know. Said yes. I mean, it's his fault to be honest. To be honest. But still, you know, because you kind of carry that around with you all that time. And I just thought, you know what, regardless of who said what, I don't want to be that person. So I remember seeing him again and just said sorry for what happened. And yeah, never really spoke to him again after that. Cause we actually kind of spoke a little bit because like this union that some people organize for school, school union thing. But yeah, so I spoke with him. I mean, it was a few days where still kind of hanging out a little bit, but after that, it was like, yeah, now we're good now. Like,
so you feel guilty then when you beat someone up? That's what you feel guilty.
I guess not in the moment, but certainly afterwards, yeah.
Why?
And I guess it's to do with just like, oh, that's the wrong button. Sorry, my bad. Here we go. I guess it's to do with just like the way I've kind of looked on things afterwards, like. You know, a big part of me is I'm well, a religious person now. Like I've been so for a while, probably a few years after I got into that fight, actually, started taking religion more seriously. So I guess I was trying to look at things differently, and even though it's like I can recognize when somebody is antagonizing me or somebody is, you know, pissed me off and this, that, and the other. I do. By the way, I'm not a pacifist, and I do feel like there are certainly times where you have to throw down.
Yeah.
But then also, I feel like, what can I do to avoid it? And have I really done everything that I can to avoid getting into a fight, rather than just letting my anger take over in a moment, you know, dealing with somebody who clearly is letting their anger take over, and I'm just making it worse by letting my anger take over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess there's a kind of that self-reflection type thing. And more so apologizing for my part in it rather than pushing all the blame onto somebody else, when even though, okay, yeah, you did this and this, but then at the same time I know that I probably could have done other things that could have avoided it as well. So I apologize for my part, not to say that I'm taking all responsibility for the situation, you know what I mean? So yeah, kind of like that.
Sometimes people, I just think, yeah, you learned that lesson today. Hopefully now you don't do this to no one else. So I've taught you. So I'm happy. I don't think, I'm guilty.
Well, that's part of it, all right. And I think especially if you grow up, like, I mean, I don't make too many assumptions, but, you know, we grow up in, like, black households, we get beat, so we don't do that again. Right? You know
Exactly.
That's the message, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You do something you're not supposed to do or whatever, and like, your dad's hand's coming down. And it's like,
exactly.
You know, and then you don't do it again, or at the very least, you learn not to get caught. So
exactly.
You know,
and if you think of like internet trolls, for example, when they're writing things, and I'm thinking, you're only writing this because no one's ever punched you in the face. Like you're writing this to rappers. And I just think, bro, would you really say this in front of me? I don't think you would. And then it's when there's people that are way bad. I'm not bad. There's people that I know that rap are bad. And I see comments they get and I think, yo, this person would never say this. But they feel safe in their house and they've probably never been punched in the face. So they think, oh, yeah, you can just say things. Nah, man. I'm glad I got punched up when I was little, like by people, because, yo, I learned quickly, don't say things to people if you don't want to get punched. And people shouldn't punch you for saying things, but it's a possibility. And you should always know that. So don't just chill, man. Just be cool.
You know what? That is so true. Now, I feel like I see so many kind of examples of that in life on the internet. Like, I mean, I don't know if they've never, ever been punched, but certainly it probably hasn't happened for a long time if they ever have. And yeah, just the way a lot of people are, that they're so quick to get in your face, so quick to cuss you out or whatever, because they know they're doing it from a position of safety. You know what I mean? Like they know they're doing it where you eat the likelihood of you getting up and doing something is so small, and they know
slim.
That,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
They know that. So it's like you know, you mentioned you drive, so it's like you probably see this as well, where you know you're driving, you're doing your thing, minding your own business.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't like the way you drive, they start shouting and swearing at you, but they're driving the other way. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like the likeness of you telling around. I mean, some people do, I know, but the likeness of that happening is pretty.
It's so slim. So it's
like,
so it was like beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, bro, I ain't got road rage, so like I'm just like, bro, allow it, man.
Yeah.
Like, because nothing's coming of this. Just leave it. Because if we was walking and I walked in front of you, you're not gonna be like, because you're gonna think, yo, we're walking.
Right.
So
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, but I hear that.
I saw this one guy today actually. I was coming around a corner, and I guess he didn't like that I was moving a bit slow or whatever, right? So he got speeding at me behind. And I mean, first of all, I'm not going to speed around a corner. Like, I drive out, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't trying to crash nothing. But anyway, I was coming around the corner. He starts beeping at me, all that kind of stuff. And then we come to the same red traffic lights. And I just thought, wait a minute, let me try something. So I look over at him, like just like that. Just look over him. And he does this thing where he looks at me and he's like, turns away real quick. And like, he said, look, I'm no bad guy. You know what I mean? I'm not the big bad fighter, beat up. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, let me just do this. I'm going to look at him. I'm not going to turn my head. I'm just going to
stare. No way.
Like he looks at him and he was like that. I was like, okay. I know what's that.
That was silly of you. You shouldn't do stuff like that ever.
Yeah. I can get petty on the road though sometimes when people start beeping at me. I start driving slowly.
Yeah, I do that. When people get mad, I slow down.
One time this guy was trying to drive behind me and he's trying to overtake me and I was like, nope. And he goes, I was like, nope. I'm slowing down. He's getting mad. It's petty, I know. I ain't saying do it. Don't do it. It's bad.
Nah, don't do it. Don't do it. Sometimes the moment takes you.
All right. So let's go back a little bit again, actually, because we talked about inspirations and stuff there, and from listening to your music, I reckon a lot of your inspiration, at least a good portion of it, comes from things like video games, anime. In particular, I heard quite a few Mortal Kombat references in your music. So what was that inspiration like? I'm guessing you played a lot of games coming up, and
bare games. Every year, my dad would get us the new console, whatever come out. We had nearly every console. So yeah, I just think it's cool, innit? Like some people see games and anime as geeky, but I think it's just cool. Like it's like some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen has been anime. I always say to people that one of the best things I've ever watched, films and series included, is Death Note. I feel like that story, and when they tried to turn it into a film, it was dead. But as an anime, that story was one of the best stories I've ever seen. And I try and say to people, look past that, it's an anime, just watch it and look at the story. And I just think it's cool. And I don't get why so many people see it as a bit of a geeky thing. But since the internet and stuff like that, you've been able to come across like-minded people that are all into anime. And there's actually loads of us. And there's people that are into it 100 times more than me, because I'm into it, but some things that people tell me to watch, I'm like, I ain't watching this. Like, what's this? So yeah, I just think it's really cool, and it's what I'm interested in. So it's like I mention things to do with it, and anytime you watch an anime, I don't know if you watch Naruto and stuff like that, and you think if you was in that world, what would you be? Do you get what I mean? And that's where my lyrics come from. I think, oh yeah, I'd be Kakashi and I would have this power and blah blah, and that's the sort of things I talk about. Mortal Kombat, not so much. I think Mortal Kombat was a game I liked on SNES. Then I kind of fell out of love with it. And the only reason I mention Mortal Kombat is because of the hat, and people expect me to. So I don't think I don't think Mortal Kombat references are so for me. I think people expect it, and I think run with it because they see the hat to do it, and then they're gonna be like, oh, Mortal Kombat. Well, it's not much for me. I'm not really a Mortal Kombat fan, really. It's just I wore the hat, then I thought, it'd be cool to call myself Raiden sometimes because he wore it. And Raiden's not even a sick character from Mortal Kombat. Like, if I could pick, it would be flipping Scorpio or Sub-Zero.
No, Scorpio was definitely my favorite for Mortal Kombat. I mean, for me, it was like when it came to fighting games back in the day, I was always more of a Street Fighter guy. But when Mortal Kombat dropped, I remember the queue for the arcade machine was long. Like, it literally went out the shop, down the road. It was long, and they had other games you can play. You know what I mean? But everybody wanted to play Mortal Kombat. And this was like back when they didn't tell you how to do the moves and that, and so you had to figure it all out yourself. By the time you get there, you've got some guy who's been playing it for like the past like 30, 40 people, and you're just getting, you know what I mean?
I like that though. You know? I like that people didn't used to know the moves. I like that. And it'd be like, how'd you do that? I'd be like, I ain't telling you. I love them days.
Well, it meant things were earned, right? Because
Yeah,
like even things
exactly.
like the fatalities, like we get to the end, and it would just say like finish him or whatever, and then this guy would just pull a fatality on you. You think, what the
How?
fuck? You
How?
know?
And then you think you've learnt it because you accidentally do a move and you try and do it again. It's like it's not working. It's because you're
Yeah,
pressing down instead of back or something, and you don't
yeah.
know.
Standing a 2 millimeters to the far to the left or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's just like,
That's when gaming was hard and it was fun
mm,
because it was hard because you, like you said, everything was earned. But
mm.
now gaming now is a bit more like, oh, here's a walkthrough. Oh, here's a YouTube video saying exactly where to jump.
Yeah, it's yes, it's different. I mean, I can't lie. I've used a few walkthroughs, but yeah, it's but no, but you're right though. It is definitely a different. Like for example, we had like I mean, my first games console was the Master
Atari?
System.
Oh, you didn't have an Atari?
Didn't have an Atari. I remember my cousin had an Atari, or
I had a
somebody I knew
Master
had an
System.
Atari. But
You'd have a game built in.
yeah, had Alex Kidd in Wonderland.
Alex the Kid.
Yeah,
In Wonderland?
was it Wonderland or Miracle World?
No.
I think it might be Miracle World actually.
Okay. Yeah,
It was
Alex the
definitely
Kid. You
Alex
had to
Kidd or
do
something.
rock, paper, scissors and stuff, and you could
Yes,
get a
yeah,
car. And yeah, I had that built
that's
in
the
as well.
one. And by the way, as my first games console, we did have. I guess we had machines that we played games on before that.
Right.
Like we had like an Amstrad and a Sinclair, but they weren't quite consoles. They were more like these computer type things that you spend ages trying to figure out how the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thing even turns on. But this was the first actual games console I had was a Master System. Well, Master System 2 actually, because they redesigned it.
I didn't even know there was a two.
And but yeah, it was like you didn't have saves in games back then.
Exactly.
You didn't have saves. At least most games. I think some games had a built-in thing in the cartridge or whatever. But most games you didn't have saves. So you had your lives. You can maybe get more lives if you're good enough. But once your lives are run out,
Start
the
again.
whole game starts. Not just the level,
The
but
game.
the whole game starts again.
Yo, I'm surprised I had the patience to play because now, if a game did that now, I wouldn't play it.
Right, like trying to play some of these old games now, even though I know because I come up on that, but even going like get some of these retro games, I'm just like flipping hell, man. You gotta
Do I
something.
really want to start again? Yeah. Do
Yeah,
I?
it's long.
So long. I tried to play the oldest game I've tried to play recently is I don't know. It was on Mega Drive. It was Bruce Lee. Was it Enter the Dragon or something like that? And you had to fight people. And I got to a certain point and I was like, this is further than I've ever got. 666. Then I died and I was like, the beginning. Dash that game away. Dash that game straight away. Where back in the day, I'd be like, oh, I gotta go again. Now I'm like, yo, you mad? You know how long it took me to get there?
Right. Had me so just to play it, get good at that level.
Yeah.
Losing your lives, you start again. Master that level, no master Lex.
And then you don't even get as far the second time. You die earlier or something, and you're like, "Yeah, buddies, yo, buddies."
Oh, you know what? I swear, even games today. I swear, even games today. Like you're playing a game and you're kind of struggling a little bit, and it gets up. You have that kind of moment that I figured out what to do now. So you're playing it again, right? You're playing that level again or whatever, and then everything changes. You know what I mean? Like the boss changes his patterns. The bad guy that was over there is now over there. There used to be two, now there's three. Like, what's going? It's always when you figure out. You know what I mean? It's never like
that's good though, isn't it? That's good.
It changes. No, it's like everything's the same. You find like, oh yeah, I figured out what to do now.
Yeah. Now, one step to the left, two steps to the right. That's
now
good though.
A whole new attack that he's never. Where does this thing come from? Let's take up your whole energy bar. It's like,
games are sick, man. People that don't get it, I always think, how do you not like? I always think someone's got to like a game. There's got to be a game you like, man. Because obviously there's types that people like. Like some people play like Call of Duty. I've never been into that, never. But then start talking to me about like Tekken and FIFA and stuff, and I'm like sick. I've always think there's got to be a game. I don't see how there's people out there that don't like games, and I'm like, how?
Yeah, I kind of look at it like, say, like music and films. Like you have people who like really into music, really into movies and things like that. But pretty much everybody has a movie that they like.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't watch every movie. Maybe they're not like a movie buff or whatever, but they have one or two movies that they enjoy.
Exactly.
A few songs or a few artists that they enjoy, even if they're not necessarily a big fan. But there's a few artists.
Exactly.
There's a few books that you like, even if you don't necessarily read.
Even if you don't read,
books,
yeah.
So So I kind of feel it's like that, but with games, I guess because it's still relatively a new art form.
Do you know what I think it is? I think because it's games, they're not even giving it the chance. Where movies, everyone gives movies a chance. So you are going to find a movie that you like, but with games, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I played Tekken and I didn't really like it, so never played a game again. I'm like, wicked, that's one type of game, blood. Like, what do you mean? Like, there's whole other things that you could be doing. So I think it's just they don't give it the chance because, and it's not, you can't cheaply give gaming a chance unless your friend's a gamer and you go to his house and he plays games and you try him. Like, you can't buy Tekken and then be like, I didn't like that. Let me buy FIFA. I didn't like that. Let me buy Spider-Man. Because now, before you know it, you're £200 down. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Plus whatever console costs you.
Exactly. So I get it. I do. I said I don't get it, but now I've just got it as speaking to you. Look, it's solving my brain.
Well, I think there's a potential for change with that, though, because especially with things like mobile gaming becoming as big as it has. So I feel like, I mean, a lot of people, like for example, my mum would play like, was it Candy Crush or I'm not sure which one it is, but one of these mobile games you'll play. I think it's like, no, not Candy Crush. It's a word game she plays actually. I think she did play Candy Crush for a while, but now she plays some other word game. Anyway, but she'll play that a lot. But if you ask her if she's a gamer, she'll say no, right? So I feel like once people start to realize that these are games as well, the definition of a gamer
will change.
Starts to change, and then maybe it gets to a point where you've played all these like mobile games, and maybe eventually you might be like, maybe I'll try Call of Duty. Maybe I'll try this Street Fighter. My son keeps talking about.
If you came over when your mum was playing Street Fighter. If I came to my mum's house and she's playing Street Fighter, I swear.
Hey, that would be the day, man. You must play Street Fighter.
I feel like my mum used to play Tekken a little bit with us. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I'm imagining it. I feel like she played Tekken. I know my mum used to play The Sims.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she used to play that.
Yeah, that's a super popular game.
That's a life-ruining game. Life-ruining game. Sucks up your life. Your Sims living, Your Sims living the life, got a job, everything, living in luxury, and you're in your chair. You haven't even eaten. Your house is a mess. You get what I mean? Games like that are life ruiners. And I don't know if you play games like if you used to play Football Manager. That's a life ruin.
Not that specifically, but when it comes to life ruining games that you described, I could think of a few. Like, well, for me, it was World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's a life ruiner, and your character's high level, strong, but you're sitting there weak, hungry. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, I was like, one time I must have got up at, I don't even know what time. It was early though. Well, I remember about 8 o'clock or something like that. But I remember sitting on the computer to start playing it, and before I knew it, it was like the next day or something, and there's like a massive sweat patch on the chair that I was sitting on, just like
mad. It's mad, isn't it?
Like, what's going on?
It's mad. Yeah. It's mad what games can just switch you off from the world, man.
Yeah, some games definitely need to come with a warning for sure. Like.
Yeah, they do.
But with warnings, kind of a warning. So there's actually one lyric I wanted to talk to you about. Actually, one of your songs. Because when I heard this, let me read the line, and then I'll tell you what it meant to me when I heard it. So it's from Wolverine 2, and it's a line where you say, "Nobody cares when you're no one. When you get a taste, one action and begging for peace." Mostly the "nobody cares when you know one" bit really is what kind of resonated with me, because I feel like when I heard it for the first time, it kind of, because I used to write a lot of poetry. I still kind of dibble and dabble a little bit, but I used to write a lot of poetry. I used to be very active in the London poetry scene, and one of the things that kind of comes up a lot is supporting black artists, and things like that. And what you tend, at least in my experience, what I tend to find is that the people who say that the most, what they really mean is support me.
Yes.
And they don't seem to care about many other people.
Yes.
And even coming outside of that, just in general, with like, say, like friends and stuff like that, and family and people, I remember like trying to sell CDs at one time. I recorded a spoken word album. I was trying to sell CDs. This is like after I've been doing it for some years, after I've done like a few shows, after bare people coming up to me telling me that you're great, you're fantastic, really love your stuff, all that kind of things like that. You should put a CD out, that sort of thing. And I remember I recorded an album, and I was trying to sell it. And I struggled, and of course I know I'm not like some big famous guy. I'm not expected it to fly off the shelves.
Yeah.
But for the time where it's like the amount of people coming up to you telling you're great,
Yeah.
and it's so few people actually want to buy a CD, it just felt like it felt like a disconnect.
Yes.
But then the same people, like they'd be running over to buy the latest mainstream artist, spend £200 on a whatever tickets and shirts and so when you say that nobody cares when when I was like, I feel like I get that. I feel like I understand that from that experience that I've had, that there's this feeling that people, by and large, of course I'm generalizing here, but it just feels there's a lot of people that only really care about you once you've gotten to a point where you can be considered, whether it's famous or closer to the mainstream. And it's not so much they care about you and your art, more about their proximity to what is considered great.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's when they know you.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, I've listened to him for time.
I used to see him on stage. Oh yeah, I used to hang out. But before that, why are you still trying to pull that stuff? Why are you still below all of that, so to speak? So few people show up. So that's what it meant to me.
Yeah.
What was your thinking behind that?
So it is basically that, but I wouldn't say it's from a bitter place at all. I would say it's like I've accepted that people only care when they think they should care, as in they think everyone else cares, so now it's time to care. But I feel like that's slowly shifting with music, because now it's becoming cool to like people that nobody else knows about. Where before it wasn't really like that. So I think that's slowly shifting, where people are like, yeah, I fully support this person. No one knows about him. So that's good. But at the same time, majority of people only pipe up and want to do things and come to your shows and blah, 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 when it feels like there's a buzz around you. So the reason I remember, I think I wrote it in that, is because I've had tastes of it, because I've had music careers like a roller coaster, bro. It's like you have highs and lows. And I always forget during the highs that people have just appeared. I always forget it. Even people that I've known for years, I always forget, oh, you've gone. And then now I'm doing this. Like there was a stage I was on TV. I was being interviewed on TV for something, and I was getting phone calls. And because I was so excited that I was on TV, I wasn't thinking, hold on a minute, I haven't heard from you. And now you're rolling with me. Do you get what I mean? And it's like, oh, I'm struggling to get a DJ to do this show because it's not sold out, or it's because there's no buzz around me at that moment. But then now I've done Lord of the Mics, for example. When I'm doing a show, I've got like 6 DJs saying, yo, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Do you get what I mean? So it's a bit like, it can put you down a bit. It can make you feel down. Like, I'm still the same rapper. I'm still spitting the same lyrics. I'm still got the same talent level. Why does no one care unless they think they should care? Unless the industry tells them they should care? Unless I'm achieving something, why does no one care until then? Where if you cared the whole time, I'd be achieving things, because I would look like I've got people that care. I would get more comments. I'd get more views. I'd get more blah, blah, blah. And that would make me achieve. So it's like a double parallel horrible thing, because it's like, you lot all care and stay, I'm going to get somewhere. If you're waiting for me to get somewhere to care, it's going to be harder to get there, because it looks like you haven't got the fans to get there. So it was kind of based off that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Look. Cool. I guess there's similar kind of thinking, but yeah, maybe yours. Yeah, you say mine's more of a better place.
Yeah, I've accepted it. But there was a long time when I didn't accept it, and I used to feel angry because, like you say, people say to you things, and there's a disconnect when it's actually time. People say, "Oh my God, I put a post up about a show. Oh, you need to come here. Oh, I'm definitely coming. Oh, 100 and 200 and something comments, definitely coming. Put on the show, and everyone's cancelling, or you can't even sell 100 tickets, or Everyone's begging me for hoodies. I'm selling t-shirts. I paid for t-shirts. Everyone's begging me for hoodies, so I'll go and spend the $2,000 to get some hoodies made. And then you look in your cupboard and you've got bare hoodies. Do you get what I mean? And like you're thinking,
Yeah.
you lot beg for this. So it's like a disconnect with words and actions. And now it's took a while, but I've grown to accept people just say things. People just say things. You need to do what you feels right to do. Then the only person you've got to blame and praise is yourself. Don't do something because someone said you need to do this, or don't do something because everyone's hyping you for this. If you want to put on a show, you put on the show. Don't go off everyone saying you need to do a show, because when they don't come, you're gonna look to them to blame. No, it's your career's in your hands at the end of the day, and I've just accepted that now. And all the noise from the fans and stuff like that, as much as I appreciate them and blah blah blah, it's just words to me, and I don't take it more than thanks, bro. Thank you. I do this hand a lot to people. Like it's not. I don't take it any more than that, because I just think if it's true, good, and I've said thank you. And if it's not true, I'm just keeping it moving. But I don't even think people say it to you and it's not true. I think it's true in the 10 seconds that they're saying it in. As in, oh my God, you need a hoodie? I would buy it in that 10 seconds. Don't come to me a month later with the hoodie, because I was on about then.
You know, I think that's yeah, I think that's right. I think that's a good way to look at it. And thinking back to my own experience, that's probably what I should have done as well. You know, back when, because I guess when you're in a moment and people are gassing you up, you know, it could kind of mess with your ego a little bit. You know, it could kind of maybe think that you're some big superstar or whatever. And it's like you say, a lot of times it is just they mean it in that moment,
in the
not
moment,
necessarily.
I'm going to follow you tomorrow.
2, 3, 4 months later, when you actually got something to show, because that's how long it takes to actually get something together.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I feel like you're right. Just say thank you and keep it moving.
And keep it moving. Yeah.
Keep it on. Keep doing the things that you know that you want to do, whether it's whether it's putting a show, or whether it's do this or whatever. And you know, one of the big things for me right now is sustainability, and you know, financial sustainability, of course, but also mental sustainability, and making sure that I'm not overwhelming myself by doing things that I either don't feel I'm ready for, or is going to put me in a position where I'm doing so much that it's going to be difficult to maintain everything, you know. So it's like, be sustainable. I think that's the biggest thing for me right now, because it happens sometimes when I speak to people about, you know, like the podcast, for example. People say, "Oh, have you monetized it? Have you done this and have you done that?" And I'm like, you know, yeah, maybe eventually, but right now, it's just do it. Just
because that's what. Yeah, you need to,
that
your plan. Your plan.
Yeah.
Why am I listening to your output? I'll take your advice and I'll be like, thank you, because I might not have thought of that, and now I'm going to think about it. But I'm still going with my plan.
Yeah, indeed.
And then you blame yourself or you praise yourself when it works, whichever. You don't want to think, oh, that person John came up to me and said this, and now my podcast has flopped because I monetized it too early because of John. No, your decision.
Yeah, indeed. You know, just take your time with things. Don't rush. Well, at least for me, anyway. Of course, can't speak for everybody, but for myself, it's like, kind of like YouTube. I remember like years ago, I was doing these. I'm like, well, I do movie reviews now, but this is like before the ones I'm doing now. I was doing these movie reviews, and I was doing like one a week, and they were like really in depth, kind of analysis type reviews, and yeah, just kind of ended up burning myself out by putting that kind of pressure on myself to have a video every week, You know, I'm watching films that I was taking recommendations for people, and a lot of them were films that I'd never heard of. So, which is fine, not in and of itself. But if I'm doing a video every week, it's like now I've got a week to watch a film for the first time.
Interpretate,
You know,
and then
oh,
that was tough. Why did you do that? That was hard.
Stupid. That's why. But yeah, I ended up burning myself out, and I remember just like stopping one day, and I didn't even stop because I don't think I stopped because I was burned. I think I stopped for some other reasons. But I was looking back at it like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, and it was a shame because I actually liked doing it. So now it's like, be sustainable and think about how can I do this in ways that work for me, and not necessarily what everybody else is telling you what you should do.
Yeah,
They say that's just noise. It's cool noise. It's nice to hear it,
Yeah.
You know, especially when people are praising you, but at the end of the day, it's noise, and trying to lessen the noise and be like, okay, where am I going? How do I do it? What are my actual goals and intentions? And am I on the path towards that, or am I on a path towards where somebody else thinks I should be going? You know, and
But then on the
yeah,
flip side, how do you manage this bit of it? Because this, I agree with what you said, but then there's the flip side of it where, for example, you could what you know, Mr. Beast.
yes,
He gives advice like you have to have a schedule, you have to do this, and people who are successful say, yeah, you have to do
yeah,
three videos a week. You have to. Oh, if you can't put in that time, it's not for you. You're always going to be small then because you need to And
yeah.
I show it because I'm this person now, and how do you deal with that when that's the evidence that we're seeing as what they're saying you need to do to achieve what in the industries that we're trying to achieve in, but then at the same time you're not making money, you have got a job, you have got a life, and it burns you out and you just end up quitting. So could you say it's not for you, or could you say that you need to find a way to make it work? And that's where things start getting tricky in my head, because it's like I do a lot for music, but according to advice I'm still not doing enough. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you, and it's
Yeah, I mean, oh, certainly, because like you look at whether it's Mr. Beast or any of these sort of similar sorts of things, they all say the same sorts of things about having a consistent schedule, doing X amount of videos per week, and your thumbnails and your this and your that and
yep,
everything else, and that's all good advice. You know, let me be clear on that; it's all good advice.
yep,
But I think for myself, it's come down to there's a level of acceptance that if I was to stay at this level for the rest of my life, would I still be doing this? Right?
right,
And if the answer to that is yes, then just
then you're
keep
okay.
going. Yeah, just keep going.
Okay,
And
okay,
if the
and
answer
it
to
is,
that is
what is
no,
the answer?
well, for me, it's yes.
Okay,
right,
then you
right
blessed.
now, the
Yeah, I
answer is
hear that.
yes.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Right now, the answer. I mean, of course, that could change. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things as life develops and blah blah blah. But right now, the answer is yes. But if the answer ever becomes no, then it's like, okay, it's either become not sustainable for me, or I don't love it as much as I used to.
Okay,
You know, either way, something needs to change.
okay.
So you either figure out a way to make it sustainable, or if it is that you just don't love it like you used to, then maybe that needs to stop. But either way, something in your life needs to change, because I feel like balance is ever shifting. You know, like like a ballerina.
Yeah,
A ballerina will like stand on one leg and spin around and all that sorts of stuff and all kinds of cool things. At any one time, the most of the ballerina's body weight could be on this side, and as they move, the most of their body weight could be on this side, but they're always up. So
right.
their balance is shifting, and they will shift their body and their arms and everything else to maintain that balance. But if they know that if they go too far to this side, they start to stumble, and that's when you need to adjust yourself. So I
Right.
kind of think of it like that. Balance is always is shifting. Sometimes you need to do more of this. Sometimes you need to do more of that. But it's a balance. But sometimes you go too far to this side, and maybe you start to feel like something's missing. You start to stumble. You go too far to this side, something's missing. You start to stumble. So you need to adjust yourself. So it's just like figuring out how to maintain that balance. And I try not to worry too much about the fame side of things, because of course you want as many people to see it as possible.
I
Of
don't mean
course,
fame though as well, by the
yeah.
way. I mean like the making enough money to only do that type of thing.
Okay.
Because
Well, yeah.
fame to me is I'm not really a fan of fame, to be honest.
It's I feel like fame is one of these things where it sounds like a really cool thing to have, but I think if you actually had it, it might just
It's
be. I mean, maybe I'm sure for some people love it, but I feel like for myself, there's a level of fame where I think would be nice for me. Like that's about I feel like the maximum level of fame that's good for me is the type where like hardcore people will know who you are, like the proper
yes,
like
yeah, 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 yeah,
hardcore
yeah,
guys
yeah.
know who you are.
And you can
But
walk past other people and they ain't got a clue.
right, exactly. Like your average everyday person, just be like whatever, or maybe they'll see and think you look kind of familiar,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
and
I
maybe
don't
they
know.
think
Yeah,
like they bumped into it at the
But then there's
supermarket.
one person every so often, like the odd day, that'll be like, "Oh my god!"
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I feel like
yeah.
that's the
I could handle
ideal
that,
maximum
but
level
more
thing.
than that, I would get annoyed.
Yeah.
I don't even like people as it is really, so I couldn't go out every day being like stopped every day, bro. Nah, not on
But
it.
but even when it comes to like money, I try to worry so much about that as well, because one of my beliefs is that as long as you're doing things in a way that works for you, the money will come. It may not come right when you want it, right? But the money will come, and there's lots of ways to make a living out of your arts, without having, millions and millions and millions and millions of subs. There's plenty of ways. In fact, who was it? It was Ice-T. Ice-T was talking about this. He said, if you have, I can't remember the exact number he used, but I think it was something like 2,000. He said if you have 2,000
True
like
fans.
true fans, you're good, because that's like 2,000 people who would buy a T-shirt
Yeah.
each year, or 2,000 people would buy a cap each year, or 2,000 people that would, you know what I mean? So
The number's actually lower than that.
Yeah.
The true fans, it's way lower than that, and you're decent with it way lower than that. But yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
it before.
as long as we've got people who really kind of
Who buy
dig
everything.
your stuff,
Yeah.
then you're doing okay. And of course, the thing, even getting there could take a while. I recognize that, but for me, it's just, I feel like I don't want to, because there's ways you could get real famous real quick on the internet, and I'm sure like you've all seen things
Yeah.
that people do. They can get real famous real quick and get lots of money in a short amount of time, but it's not sustainable. And when I look at the history of YouTube and all these like channels that blew up real quick and were like everybody's talking about them for a while, like, a lot of them, like, where are they now?
Yeah.
And I'd rather move in a way that I know that I can keep moving, rather than burn
Boom
brightly
and disappear.
then
Boom and then gone. Yeah.
and you're gone.
You'd rather be a slow burning star forever than the brightest star in the sky that burns
Right.
in full and disappears.
Exactly.
I hear that.
But yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to make some money. I can't lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice to make
Exactly.
some money. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't want money. I ain't
If you
gonna-
could wake up and decide,
But-
oh yeah, today I'm going to do a podcast, or today I'm going to do this, instead of having to go and do something else, that's the level that I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people should look to. That's the thing, like the level you should look to, where you can wake up and decide what you're doing, and you don't need no outside boss, no outside person. It's just on you, and that's what I'm close to, but not quite there.
Yeah.
And when I get to that, I'm not trying for fame. I'm not trying for millions. I'm trying to get up every day and be like, yeah, it's on me what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And I'm almost there, but not quite.
Yeah, awesome. But I feel like with music now, and that you can speak more to this being a musician, but it seems to me, at least as an outsider looking in, that the music world now, there's definitely a lot more opportunities, and it's a lot more realistic to create that kind of vision that you just mentioned about not necessarily being super famous, but still doing enough to maintain yourself financially through music.
Exactly.
I mean, there's quite a few artists that I could think of right now that kind of do that already. They'll tour and they'll travel and they'll put out CDs or whatever every now and then, and some of them have been on TV, or some of them have had like stuff for shopping, like games or movies or things like that, but they're not necessarily like big time, like everybody's heard of them. And I feel like with things like YouTube, like what you're doing with these, the
Streams.
your name,
Taking
name in the
names.
song, taking names,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think you're on Twitch as well, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
do
so
all
that's
on Twitch now, but yeah.
Oh, it's on Twitch. Okay. And then of course things like SoundCloud and Bandcamp and various
Spotify and everything. All of it combined helps. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel like that is definitely a lot more of a reality now for a lot of people. But I guess the other side to it is that when something becomes more accessible, more people do it, and that becomes its own challenge. Because although you're not, strictly speaking, competing with everybody else, you kind of are.
Oh yeah.
When it's
Well, I guess if you like two grime artists and both of them that are doing taking names on Sunday at 8:00, you can only watch one. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Or if you decide you're going to sign up to Zeo's one because he does it every week, and I pay Zeo £5 a month to get all the songs he does in taking names, you might not be able to do £10 a month and give it to the other person as well. But then people say you shouldn't look at life like that because you start to go nuts and blah blah. And there is unlimited things for you to get, and you giving someone a fan doesn't hurt you. But the actual fact is, like, fans can only do so much. You can only comment on so many videos. You can only watch so many music videos. Like, you get what I mean? So it's another. You just have to live life, man, and just do what you're doing.
Yeah. No, for real. I think certain things we just drive so crazy.
Yeah, don't think about it. Just get on with it. Yeah.
Just be grateful for anybody who does, watch your show or throws a little cash your way. Hopefully they're not, going broke doing it. But
I always worry about that. I've got some fans that have gave me some things, and I'm like, bro, nah, man, I don't want this. I don't want this. I've had some that every few days he was buying another t-shirt, another hoodie, another. I was like, bro, you got kids, like, are you like, are they eating and like what? Yo,
yeah, you sure?
Yeah, I was just like, I don't like this, man. And sometimes when people donate to me on Twitch or YouTube, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I know who you are. Like, you don't need to give me no money. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop it.
It's kind of a weird thing with people who donate money sometimes, though, isn't it? Because, like, of course, on one hand, of course, you want people to donate to you.
Yeah, of course.
It helps you out, and it's great. The more you get, the better, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, you're right. You can have that feeling of like, are you sure? Like, someone donates you £1 and might be, okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, but when you get like in the £50 and stuff,
right? Like, and it's like, look, if that was a mistake and you want to, I've said that to people. Like, look, dude, if that was a mistake, then just let me know. I'll send it back. And like, it's cool. It's like, you sure?
I always go into the thought of, because I'm not poor, and I always think, I reckon I'm got more money than you. And you're sending me like £25, thinking, yeah, Zeo, here you go to help you out. And I'm thinking, I reckon I've got more money. And I start feeling bad because I'm thinking, but then this is the job I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So like the people that have got flipping SO petrol station, they're not feeling bad, thinking, oh, I've got more money than you. It's their business, it's their job.
Yeah.
But I can't help it because I care about people. And some fans I think are broke, but they're still giving me stuff. And it's a really weird feeling, bro. It's a really weird.
Yeah. I feel like, because I've heard somebody say this before. Perhaps there's some truth to this. That, I mean, because I kind of feel like this as well. Like, if I could just give my art away, all my creativity and all my expression, if I could just give it away for free and have it out in the world, and whoever wants to see it can see it. And then I don't have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about bills. If I'm like got money like that, where I could don't have to worry about. I feel like a lot of artists would do that. They'll just give it away for free,
right?
But when you start introducing the fact that we do need to eat, and we can't always just,
exactly,
as part of it, and it's like I feel like there's what happens is on some level where we have like this kind of internal battle between. You kind of want to just have stuff out there, and if it could be just people can have it and they can have it. You also want to be able to get money for it because you got bills to pay. But if you didn't have to do that, then you wouldn't. And then that's kind of like, well, do I want to do, especially when it starts to become, like £10, £20, £50, and you're like, I know I should just take it and just say thank you and keep it moving. But part of me is like, I mean,
why am I taking it from someone else?
And,
I'm taking it from someone else. I'm like, and have they really got it? Like, I've had fans that have messaged me completely broke, and I've sent them money, like, and they're like, I'll pay you back, and I'm like, yeah, if you can, then do it. But if you can't, like, I don't expect it back. I never send people money and expect it back because I just think,
sure.
That's
a rule.
I've had more than one fan, and they've been messaging me, blah blah, not asking me for money. If they ask me for money, I'll never send it because I just think you just want money. You think I'm rich. But I've had some that are messaging me, telling me about something, and I'll be like, yo, I'll send you money. I had one that was their kid's birthday and they had no money, and I was like, yo, what are you trying to get them? And I sent them some money. And another one was living on a sofa, and I was just like, yo, I think it was a kid's birthday again. He had no money for his kid. I sent him some money, and he sent it back, and I was in shock. Look, but yeah, so when people are giving me money, I'm like, oh.
They're gonna get a bunch of messages now talking about their kids' birthdays.
In it.
Just watch your inbox right now.
I'm broke now. Yeah. I'm broke now. It's too late. Too late. It's too late. I'm broke now.
But I think what's part of it is being an artist is that one of the reasons why you create is to help people, and to put something out there helps yourself as a creative to express yourself, but also it could potentially help somebody else in getting them through a bad time or just having something to relate to. And I think part of that wanting to help people translates into when you see people struggling or can need a little assistance and you try to want to send them a bit of cash if you can as well. I think it all kind of comes together as just that idea of wanting to leave the world better than you met it, in some way.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, actually.
All right.
If I start releasing music about killing myself, is that a bad thing for other people?
If you release music about killing yourself, is that a bad thing for other people? I mean, I guess it would depend on the specifics of what you're saying. I would say, generally speaking, I don't think it is. And the reason for that is because I think there's a lot of people out there who think about, suicide and think about, depression and things like that. And hearing a song or seeing something about a person who's maybe having similar thoughts and similar feelings can
Yeah.
go a long way into helping them. So I'd say no, I don't think it is. I mean, if you pull out a song that said everybody should kill themselves, I'm gonna kill myself.
Let's go tomorrow, 6 o'clock.
Maybe that's a bit of an issue. Maybe.
Yo, giving them a date and everything. Yo, on this day we all do it same time. 3,
Right,
2, 1.
Like, let's step back a little bit. Just let's all
That's jokes.
But yeah. But as a general rule, I'll say no. I think
So people wouldn't hear that and think, oh, yeah, this has pushed me over the edge, man. I'm just going to do it. They'll hear it and think, oh, there's someone else that feels like this as well.
That's what I think, yeah. I mean, of course, you can't predict everything. And there's always going to be somebody who, I mean, you write a song with one intention and somebody hears it and thinks it's something completely different. That could always happen, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like most people, not that I can prove this, of course, but most people would relate to it or even if they haven't necessarily been through those feelings themselves, they could at least understand that it's maybe a song about dealing with depression or the thoughts that you have or the feelings that you have and, these sorts of things, and not necessarily, encouraging people to go jump off a bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
That said, of course, you always got to get the kind of like hardline people who will say no songs about this, no songs about that, no songs about this, no songs about that. And to me, I just feel like, especially with people that always have to bring up what about the kids, right? To me, I just feel like that's the conversation that parents need to have with their kids, because if their children are gravitating towards songs about suicide, that perhaps suggests that it's something that they've thought about. And that becomes a conversation that you need to have. And I get it; it's not going to be an easy conversation, but it's got to be done.
Yeah,
it's going to be done, and it's better that the parent has that, or at least in most cases, it's going to be better that the parent has that conversation than they hear it, from I don't know some guy at school or whatever, and So yeah, I feel like my thing is I'd always support artists' freedom to express themselves, even if it is in ways that are considered negative or ways that don't necessarily go in normal ways of expression, whether it's suicide, drugs, whatever it may be. These are things that people go through. And
do you feel the same about people glamorizing? As in glamorizing suicide and glamorizing drugs?
No, that's a little bit different. I mean, I would say that, yeah, I mean, ultimately you do have the right to express yourself. Bottom line is that is the case. But if the song is more about glamorizing drugs or glamorizing all these things or murder or whatever it is, again, I guess it's still a conversation you gotta have with your kids. That if you hear a song, because I mean, if some of my favorite songs are super toxic.
Okay.
Some of my favorite songs are super toxic. But I ain't got no damn kids, so I ain't gonna worry about it. But I get it. Sometimes we're drawn to certain things, and sometimes the things we like aren't necessarily good things, right? So yeah, just things. It's that's again, it's the conversation that you got to have with your kids about. Okay, so there's this song. It's about glamorizing this, glamorizing that, but I need you to understand that that's a song, and not necessarily just because they're glamorizing that, saying you should do it. That doesn't mean that you have to actually go and do it, because there are real life consequences for these sorts of things. And although in a song you can just say whatever and it's just words, in real life it is actions, and it affects people, it affects yourself, it affects society, it affects communities, it affects all these different things. So yeah, I feel like artists should still be able to express themselves, although yeah, I get if you're glamorizing certain things is maybe not a great way of expressing yourself.
So,
But
so
hey,
artists have got free reign, and the parents have to fix the artist's free reign.
pretty much, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. I guess yeah.
It sounds mad when you put it like that, but it is what it is, isn't
Yeah, I mean,
it?
I guess it's fair to say that as artists, we do have a social responsibility, right? And we do have to consider, as everybody does, we have to consider how what we do affects other people.
I think
But
so when we're talking and tweeting and stuff. I don't think so when we're writing a song.
right, exactly,
Yeah,
because you still need to express ourselves. Because
yeah,
ultimately, the job of the artist is to create art,
yeah.
and art, by its very
Comes in any
definition,
form, doesn't it? Comes in
yeah,
any, yeah.
it's not always going to be about good things. It's not
No.
always going to be about positive things, and you're not always going to be saying things in a or even in a positive way. Sometimes you do feel like that guy who wants to go around smacking people in the face because you feel like it. That's a feeling that a lot of us have, and we should be allowed to express that through songs, through poetry, through movies, through books, and I get it that some kids are gonna hear that and they may not be able to understand what that means, or maybe they feel like that's what you're supposed to do. But yeah, it's like, okay, this is where the parents step in. Artists cannot replace parenting, and you're not supposed
Some
to.
people ain't got parents.
Good point.
Sticky, sticky.
whoever the guardian is, or I don't know, when they get arrested, the police can talk to them.
Okay, okay, there you go.
Something. Yeah.
You for president, man.
Yeah. But listen, if I was in charge of this country, man, this place would turn to shit. I swear.
I don't care about it enough, so same thing as well. I'll just be like, yo, do what you want, man.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want that. And you know what it is? It's like I feel like I'd be the type of like leader that just pretty much that allows everything. I just like, you want that show? Have it.
Yeah, have it.
Just
Yeah,
allow
safe,
it.
whatever. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
people are like, yeah, but that would ruin the economy. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so don't have it.
Don't have it.
I don't know. I said you have it,
And you
don't
can't have it, but you can.
and
Men can have it, but
yeah,
women can't have it.
yeah.
Oh no, I mean kids
No,
can have it, but
yeah.
adults can't have it.
I'm like, screw the economy, whatever. We get a new one. We get a new economy. Yeah, I won't make it past a month. People just vote me out. We're like, yeah, vote with no confidence for this guy. Well, Mr. Zeo, I think that might be a good place to start wrapping up. But
Safe.
before we end, do you have any last words? Anything else you'd like to mention? Or anything on your mind before we press the stop record button?
I don't know. I don't think so. Just everyone just live their life, man. Life's rubbish and good, and the best and the worst and wicked. Life's wicked, whichever definition of wicked you want to use. Wicked as in jungle is massive, or wicked as in or wicked as in your life is just horrible. So life's wicked and just live it in it.
Life's wicked, just live it. I like the rhyme as well. That was nice.
Does that rhyme? Wicked, live it. Yeah, kind of. Oh yeah.
Wicked, look. Close. It's a
Kind
close
of.
rhyme.
Close rhyme. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching and or listening. Mr. Zeo, appreciate you coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Whenever, if ever. Peace.